Hello everyone, this is Karst, and welcome back to Disco Elysium. So last episode we actually made it onto the island, and we kind of investigated it a little bit before going off into Dreamland, more or less, and having a very extended talk to our ex/Dolores Day. So now that we've woken up, we're about ready to continue exploring the rest of the island. So without any further ado, let's get going. Let's go out. What have we got here? Hello? What is this? A rubber dinghy. It's deflated, broken. Small white flowers blossom all around you. Hello? The air smells sweet and scary somehow. I guess I'll save. Who are you?
An old man wearing tracksuit trousers leans on the frame stock of his rifle. He gathers a big ball of spit in his mouth, then spits it out into the extinguished fire before him. He raises his black eyes, hooded by creased eyelids, to meet yours. Unclouded by cataracts, his eyesight is sharp.
Evidently.
He's practically tearing up from spite. Hatred got the best of him a long time ago. This man hates everything.
Nice gun you got there.
It's not nice. It's a piece of shit. But it gets the job done.
That's a deeper voice than I was expecting. Is that a Belma grave?
It's a Triangon 446.
Southeast Samaran made. Exotic. Must be defunct too. No modern rifle manufacturer of that name springs to mind.
A Samaran rifle. How did you get hold of one?
It was sent to us by our brothers in the Signal commune. Military aid.
He pats the rifle. The Sinyao commune?
You heard me. It's good now. Like chalk, white from the ball.
His gaze turns inwards. You've retained your eyesight.
My eyesight? Yes. Helps me see all the shit.
A shudder of disgust passes his right side. His left side remains motionless.
Are you the fire guy?
The what now? I can't hear you.
He cups his ear. Did you recently tell two kids to put out their fire? Two twins?
I may have. All sorts of little rats have come sniffing around, trying to give up the position.
The position sounds like a hiding place.
Fire guy. Regressive bourgeoisie henchman. Can't even talk like a grown-up.
He shakes his head. Did you close the blast door?
I did. And you opened it. How?
He breathes out with a wheeze. I fueled the generator, and then used the console.
I should have burned that console down.
He shakes his head. How did you know I was coming?
Reactionary rock and roll music. Playing on the water.
He gestures north. Fair enough. I did blast it out loud and clear through it across the waves.
Told you we shouldn't play sad FM.
But you didn't say that, Kim.
I did.
We have entered a world where he said you shouldn't. It is the only world.
It was not rock and roll, it was sad FM.
Sad FM, huh? I always hated that station. Phlegmatic, counter-revolutionary dirges. Sadness is a mental illness. A weapon of the bourgeoisie. The fascists were right about rock and roll. It is degenerate. Hip gyrating, mental illness music.
Sir, I need you to put down that gun so we can talk further. We're with the police.
The lieutenant pulls his pistol from the holster.
You are a glorified night
Oof.
watchman. This is a service rifle. I can only lay it down before an enemy commander of corresponding rank.
Oh, I took all my authority down. Ah! Oh, that's bad. And spending 2 points to boost it, or 3 points to boost it, seems like a waste right now, doesn't it? I mean, if it's at 8%, I'm pretty screwed. Kim?
The lieutenant aims his pistol square at the man's forehead.
Put it down now, sir.
Or you're gonna blow my brains out before you question me. To hell with it. It's a walking stick anyway.
There's a moment's silence.
It's out of bullets.
The old man lays the rifle down carelessly, then looks at it lying there. What have you been using this gun for?
No reply. His leg twitches, strangely, like a puppet on a string. There's something off. You feel it. This was the right question. You just...
Who are you?
My name is Josef Lilianovich Dross, Political Commissar of the 114th Anti-Aircraft Division of the 4th Army of the Commune of Revachol.
He looks across the water, then back at you.
I am a deserter, a partisan, and a prisoner of war. This is my termless surrender.
His eyes turn to the reeds again, dead and dull.
The commune of Rebachol? Do you mean the ICM? Your holdover from the...
The lieutenant forgets to close his mouth.
From the Insulindian Citizens Militia, the army of the revolution. I was recruited in Jamrock in 07, trained in the École de Contrôle Orient, and consigned to emergency defense duties in 08.
That was, what, like 45 plus years ago?
I left my unit on the eve of the landing. When I returned here on May 14th, the commune had fallen. Still armed and ideologically trained, I wrote a criticism of myself and resumed partisan duties.
51 minus 8 equals
Oh, I was right.
43.
Well, not entirely. I thought we were in 53. That's why I said 45. But it's close. 43. You've been on this island for 43 years?
No. I've been on other islands, too.
He looks into the fire. A wisp of smoke rises from somewhere between the charred logs.
I was in Resurrection until they turned it into a spa in 18. Then I was an E-48, a nameless sound, until the sea washed over it. Then I came back here. That was
He thinks.
22 years ago.
Again, you've been hiding here for 43 years?
43 years and 10 months.
That's, steadfast.
It's not how a human being should live. But I had to. I couldn't just forget. I couldn't just forget what I saw.
He grimaces, clearly in pain.
What have you been doing during all this time?
Hiding, fishing, waiting.
He looks across the water.
Where evening comes, on Rue de Saint-Ghislain, hydrogen streetlights switch on, casting black shadows. Further inland, the street grid appears dark. Unlit avenue after unlit avenue. The temperature is dropping. Alto cumulus clouds form above Precinct 41. 2 police officers step out of the Whirling in Rags cafeteria. Satellite officer Jean-Vic Mayer inspects giant letters across the plaza mosaic in dark red government-marked heavy fuel oil. Patrol officer Judith Minot points west. The fishing village. She glances at her watch. We meet in 15 minutes. It's a 10-minute walk. The officers go, leaving behind the writing, still smelling of petroleum. One day, it says, I will return to your side.
Always waiting.
The old man turns his eyes from the shore and back to you. For what?
For her to return.
Her who?
Dolores Day?
Girl, child, revolution.
Girl Child Revolution?
Always.
Nothing in history is guaranteed, but revolution is still a possibility.
No. The material base for an uprising has eroded. The working class has betrayed mankind and themselves.
He blinks his black eyes.
The historic opportunity for a revolution has passed. It will not come back anymore, however hard I try, whatever I do.
So that's why he's the deserter.
Once a deserter, always a deserter.
I have done everything a man can do. What have you done?
We keep people alive. We help them survive, whatever the ideological situation, day in and day out.
Thanks for answering that one for me, Kim.
Survive? For what?
The old man spits into the dead fire. You said you deserted your unit.
I was just 16 years old. 15 when I volunteered. I had a lapse of faith.
He clears his throat.
And of courage, too.
Lapse of faith.
You could say I misunderstood the historic role of the proletariat and thought Mazovian socioeconomics were fallible. For a second, I doubted the irreducible laws of historic materialism. A second is all it took
For what?
for reaction to take hold.
What's reaction?
Petty bourgeois terror. It's in all men.
And when was this exactly?
May the 13th, '08. 44 years ago. The horizon was black with coalition airships. Their petroleum rose to the sky, and it looked like it formed the clouds. Storm clouds. When they started shelling, it was dark magic.
Dark magic.
The combined might of international capital. All at once, all the greed and terror in the world tore into Revachol. It lifted streets from the ground and turned houses into ghosts. We were in the flak tower,
He gestures towards it.
huddled on the floor. The artillery was 80 kilometers away in Ozon, but I knew the commune would fall. We would all be turned into ash. So I said I was going to the map room.
He looks east. What then?
I ran. I climbed the chain link across the water and hid inland, in the bunkers underground, like the weakest of the weak. A mouse, frightened of the ordnance all night and the sound of the rotors in the morning, whirring.
He looks at the sky. What was that?
Airships. I climbed out into hell. The landing was complete. The chain was submerged. I had to swim back. The fortress was half submerged too, shattered.
He closes his eyes.
They'd all drowned in the lower levels or got torn to shreds above. The anti-aircraft gun had malfunctioned. So had I. I left them without ideological direction. It was real. I'd seen it. I'd seen it in reality.
He opens his eyes and stares right through you.
Some kind of great terror. Worse than you've ever seen.
Seen what?
The mask of humanity fall from capital. It has to take it off to kill everyone, everything you love. All the hope and tenderness in the world. It has to take it off just for 1 second to do the deed. And then you see it, as it strangles and beats your friends to death. The sweetest, most courageous people in the world.
He's silent for a second.
You see the fear and power in its eyes. Then you know
What?
that the bourgeois are not human.
You've lost your mind.
Now is not the time, Lieutenant Yefreto.
Yeah, the lieutenant says gently.
I had to. I had to fight it. I could not stop anymore.
The old man falls silent. His black eyes keep piercing your skin as he looks to some great distance behind you, shaking his head slowly, retreating from it. So, what is this place, this island? This was where his base was. That's what he just said.
It's not an island, Dwat. It's a defensive fortification of the commune of Revachol. And I am its last surviving defender.
He looks around. What was it used for?
The congenitally deformed King Philip II built it to restrict access to the Bay of Revachol. We captured it in '02, retrofitted the fort with an AA gun to defend against an airborne landing. Against the whole world.
You mean the landing? Retaking of Revachol?
Coalition military called it Operation Deathblow. I later found out on the radio they called it
He winces.
Deathblow. You're one of them. Tell me, who speaks like that? We had 50 million people on Caillou alone.
First, I'm not one of them.
Sure you are. You're our CM.
True.
Answer me. Who calls an operation against 50 million people Deathblow?
True. Coalition military.
Iblis,
Iblis.
the black-eyed angel.
How have you survived all this time?
How does anyone survive? I steal.
He looks at his worn running shoes.
Now hold on there.
That's a choice. You could have become self-employed. Create the system.
You're insane and grotesque. Everyone steals. Vegetables, supplies. It's the life of a dog.
He coughs once more, then puts his hand on his belly.
How is your health, Mr. Dross?
I've been throwing up blood since winter. Red, like beetroot. Been passing it in stew, too.
That's not good. That sounds terrible. That's very, very bad, actually.
He does seem frail. Gaunt for his age. More like 75 than 65. Trouble putting on weight could mean cancer.
Yeah.
The RCM can provide medical services. You need to be looked over.
I need to die. You don't have medical facilities. You have guns. That's all they give you. Toy guns.
A droll smile stretches across his mouth.
We also have Druamine.
True. I have Druamine and other opioid-based painkillers. You must be in pain.
I have been running out of that stuff.
A light goes on in his eyes. He smacks his dry lips. How have you coped mentally?
I haven't. I have holes in my brain. Years
I believe
missing. Others filled with pain only. A decade of...
His eyes roll into a skull and back.
I don't even know what. Inferno?
I also have holes in my brain.
No wonder. All your minds are rotting from the radio waves. I watched the traitors of this city turn the lights back on. More and more each year. Ruins glittering in the dark like a fucking merry-go-round.
He nods towards Martinez.
It's disgusting.
He looks down at his shoes. His face parched from the sun and the wind. There's a wince of pain in there somewhere.
Are they not heartbroken? How could they have moved on?
I kind of want to go back to see what Kim would have said, so...
Now,
Now hold on.
How
He does.
the
I need...
We also have Druamine.
This is a serious situation. You need to be looked over, and we can do it.
There's nothing to look over. The triage is in, and it's black. Administer morphine. Moribund. At least you
Crap.
know it. The traders of this city turned the lights back on
Yep.
in the 30s. After
Yeah,
the fighting
I also live in hell.
Are they not heartbroken?
I've been...
He does.
I
Also have.
don't even
Okay,
know.
I noticed the lieutenant's about to say something.
I would imagine it gets tremendously difficult mentally to live in isolation.
Traitors. It's better...
Okay, he just
Are
says
they
the
not
same thing over and over
heartbroken?
again.
How could they have moved on?
How have you concealed yourself all these years?
It was hard in the Thames.
He shakes his head.
I didn't have partisan training. They were searching for stragglers, those bloodhounds.
He closes his eyes.
Floodlights on the water at night.
There were posters, campaigns.
We communards still hoped, and they needed to snuff that hope out. The East capitulated. Martinez and Cold City were turned to dust.
He looks south.
But Jamrock, Forburg, even Coron, and Boogie Street, of course. Those fucking kips had Marsov coursing through their veins. And others too. Some cordons of Revachol was still fighting. There were cells. I tried to contact them.
He shakes his head.
Soon they all went silent. The frequencies dead.
How did you get between here and the mainland?
At night, I used a dinghy. I only went after dark then. When I got to the city, I stayed underground. Patrols, you lot, the commons too. They'd started snitching.
He nods towards a deflated tire in the reeds.
In the city, you move underground?
From bunker to bunker.
He nods.
Not anymore. No one cares now. I don't even have to hide. They think I'm another antisocial vagrant. I could walk straight into that town if I wanted.
He falls silent, his gaze fixed on the shacks huddled together across the water. Why don't you just walk there?
I don't want to. They're all traitors. Pigs, rabbits, and dogs. Men without ideals are only animals.
He does not want to see life moving on. People forgetting, drinking, laughing.
He's living in the past, just like Harry. The weapons cache under St. Ghislaine 22B, point to it, in the basement. Have you been there?
So you finally found it. There must have been a small squadron's worth of arms in there. Elmer Graves, right?
He looks at you, then pulls the raincoat tighter around his neck. They were damaged beyond use.
I know.
So you've been there?
Sleeping. Some nights. Ammo scrounging on others. Those McGraves were shit, even before they corroded. Some had bullets in the chamber, however.
You feel the dots connecting. Little dots on the map he's walked across.
There's a small bunker under the Feld building. Have you stayed there?
The propaganda bunker.
Yep. He coughs.
I used to, but not anymore.
Propaganda bunker?
They stored leaflets there. Broadcasting equipment, too. Made broadcasts, I think. Propaganda officers. I buried them with their leaflets. They killed themselves. 2 young boys.
They did.
A lot of our boys did. I spent some winters there. Never liked it. Kept thinking of them.
He stares at the ruins of the Feld building.
No need to go underground anymore. It's better in the ruins, on the ground.
One more question. Do you smoke Tio Mutiri cigarettes?
I do.
He coughs. Ever smoke them on the mainland?
They're good. Plenty of tar. I like that boy on the pack, too. Reminds me of the last century.
He nods. Tell me another thing.
An old man looks inland at the city, the ruins, the motorways rising above it, the new bâtiment twinkling in the evening sky.
You said that this was your termless surrender?
You're with the RCM.
He waves in
The
your general direction.
coalition-appointed mob that enforces bourgeois morals in Revachol.
We're not coalition appointed, we just try to help people.
You're the RCM.
He stares at you coldly.
You represent the Moralist International, the enemies of humanity who took this city. I represent their adversary, le Parti Communiste d'Insolande.
True.
Take me to them as a prisoner of war. I have relinquished my weapon. I can no longer serve. No superiors can relieve me of my duty. You bulldoze them all to a mass grave for trying to free humanity.
His hand shakes and he breaks into a coughing fit.
A spray of blood from his mouth on the black charcoal in the fire pit.
So you're a communist soldier from the communist army?
No, I am not a soldier. I am an ideological officer. I belong to the party, not the army.
But you said you were trained and assigned to the Defense Corps.
Trained in historical materialism, then assigned as a political commissar by the party. These things used to mean something.
He nods. Wait, what does a political commissar do?
The old man does not answer. He tilts his silver head and looks at the reeds. You see a small tremor pass through his legs.
His job was to assure the army answers to civilian control and follows the ideology of the Commune.
The lieutenant says softly.
Scientific communism. A commissaire politique is a night philosopher of the revolution, a future human.
The tracksuit-clad old man is suddenly reanimated.
He was like a cleric, a shepherd.
So you were like a priest.
No, the opposite of that. A future human, not a human of the past.
He shakes his head. That means you were a trained communist, right?
He nods slowly. Then another tremor.
I'm also a communist. I'm also a moralist. Also true. I'm a revolutionary too. Today, the real revolutionizing is done by entrepreneurs. I'm not really into politics.
You're inert lumpen with a gun.
Detective, we have not come here to discuss ideology.
The lieutenant gives you a stern look. He then turns to the old man.
We have come to ask questions regarding a murder investigation.
That we are. That's true. That's why we're here.
The old man spits into the fire pit. He does not say anything more. A jitter passes his lower body. There's definitely something off with his body. Something more than just metabolism, or even cancer.
I have another serious question for you.
There's nothing serious in this world.
Oof, my composure is so bad.
It's a farce.
Let's pick up the gun.
His gaze follows your motions. The rifle feels surprisingly light in your hand. Frame stocked and patched in places with tape and wire.
Inspect it closer.
The rifle's in a shabby state, like a crutch that's seen too much travel. Hieroglyphs are embossed into the forearm, made of walnut. On the butt, you see Vespertine writing, burnt into the wood. Triangong, 4.46mm, made in Sinyao.
It's as he said. It's a triangong made in Sinyao.
No one said it has to be a Belmagrave. We were just guessing.
True. The lieutenant does not take his eyes off the old man.
From ballistics, it could easily have been a triangle, too.
It doesn't matter if it was made in Shanti Shanti. All it has to do is use jacketed ammunition. And it does.
This uses jacketed ammunition, 4.46.
The right type and the right calibre.
Calibre? The lieutenant nods, glancing at the gun.
He's liking this.
Stow the gun.
The old man keeps following your motion with his gaze. His right arm twitches suddenly. This looked very much like the murder weapon. It could be used against him to get a confession. In time.
One more time. What have you used this gun for?
What have I used it for?
He looks you dead in the eye.
I've used it for killing people.
Here we go. A trail of blood. The lieutenant smells it too.
We just need a confession.
Killing people?
It's a gun. That's what they're for. You want a moralist euphemism? Defending your family and your property. I haven't done that. I've used it to kill people.
Interesting. During or after the war?
The lieutenant nods.
There is no after the war. Class war is never over.
No war but class war. Hardcore. He shakes his head and smiles, his teeth rotten black.
So he's continued killing after hostilities ended. Okay. Go in straight. No euphemisms. He doesn't like those.
Very true.
No. Be careful now. Slow and steady does it. Make him repeat it first. Don't mess this up. Remember, he wants to tell you. Get personal.
So you're saying you killed people after active fighting stopped?
What did I just say?
He keeps shaking his head erratically suddenly. He brushes something out of his eye.
What did I just tell you? Don't drop the ball now.
Wait, so which one do I say then?
Nothing comes to you. Silence. His black eyes look at you. And in them, a chill, like electricity running up your spine, crawling into your skull.
What?
All is not as it seems.
Good to know.
Detective.
The lieutenant turns to you with well-disguised impatience.
Damn it. Ask it already, he wants to say.
Let's see. I know you want to tell me. Have you killed anyone with that gun in the last week or so?
I don't want to tell you anything, you grotesque murderer.
And why did you think that was a good idea? Don't listen to me. I'm wrong all the time.
Did you use that gun to shoot and kill a colonel of the security contractor Cornell?
The who now?
He leans in and cups his ear.
He heard you. He just wants to hear you say it again. This is dramatic flair on his part. Right choice. We're in. Do it, sire.
The corpse in ceramic armor hanging behind the whirling of rags. Did you shoot him?
Oh yes, that one. Ugly piece of work, that boy.
He looks up at the sky and clacks his tongue.
Did you kill him?
The lieutenant takes a sudden step towards him.
I am a son of a welder and an officer of the commune of Revachol.
He spits a big one at the lieutenant's feet.
I do not collaborate with murderers and pederasts of the liberal regime.
A drop of blood in the saliva. Exhaust him with proof. Pile it all on him. Get a confession. The scent of blood in the air. But what else? There was something you can't remember. Something about the tracks. Suddenly, all those tracks are so confusing. Go with something else first.
We've done the ballistics. Point to the tower. The shot came from this island.
I saw you poking around there, looking for evidence. You're damn diligent when it comes to dead fascies.
A jitter passes him.
Did you like the view?
You had direct visibility. There are embrasures in the concrete, specifically meant for a top follower to use. And you had a long-range rifle in your possession.
The lieutenant softens his voice.
You've been here a long time, Mr. Dross. Too long. You clearly need medical aid.
I'm ready to die. I've done my part.
A man interrupts him and then coughs.
He's practically admitting to it. Dead fascists for fascists. Done his part.
You said fascist. You're admitting to killing him? It's the best uninterrupted line of sight into that window of all of Martinez. The view was perfect. With a pair of binoculars, I could have seen in the room.
Because it's a sniper's nest, you stupid fuck. Radio Gosh is right. You have worms in your brain.
Another sudden twitch, and then one more. And then one more one in his right eye.
Almost. He almost burst out there. Keep piling arguments. Anything.
I don't need your cooperation. I've got this. Show him the gun.
Not a lot of guns around that use military-grade ammunition, are there?
It's a real gun.
He points to the
Not
lieutenant's
like
holster.
your little musketeer pistols. I've seen you prance around with those. Jumping hoops for the liberals. You look like imbeciles. Why don't you ask them to give you real weapons? Going against automatic rifles with these toy guns. Of course you got those boys killed.
Damn. He saw you. He's watched it happen.
Yeah, he's been watching us for the entire time, basically.
So he saw you. Okay. So what? Don't let it divert you.
We saved a lot of them. Their leader Titus, we handled the situation.
You didn't handle anything. I watched it happen. You let those murderers rip right into them. Got most of them killed. Even the fat one. None of those people mean anything to you. The vultures feed on this city, and you prepare the meal for them.
You're getting diverted. Push the gun. Only the gun matters.
Not wrong.
So you watched the fight. Did you like what you saw? The mayhem. It was all your doing. Your plan. You got them killed.
The lieutenant points inland.
You don't know anything.
A twitch runs across the right side of his face as he stares the lieutenant down. Stop changing the subject. We have the murder weapon.
You know what? You're right. I'm convinced this made the shot. should we call it?
The lieutenant looks at the weapon demonstratively. Dramatically ask, "You think we have the murder weapon?"
4.46 jacketed ammunition, modified for range. We have it. This is it.
He lists. "I'm calling it. We have the murder weapon."
Good.
The lieutenant takes out his notebook and draws a single line.
This feels good, doesn't it? Tearing things up like this. When you have the murder weapon, you have the killer.
True.
Murder.
The old man does not say more. He just glances into the reeds and then twitches once more.
This pushed him, but not enough. Just a little more.
"You're a communist. I talked to the dead man. He told me communism killed him."
Stupid twat.
He scoffs.
The lieutenant looks at you with worry in his eyes.
Yeah, because I talked to the dead man, right?
Not this, he seems to say. Anything but this.
It was intuition. Had he spoken, he would have said communism killed him.
Intuition is an aberrant psychologism.
He chortles.
It reeks of crypto-fascism. The parasite class use intuition to justify their rank in life. It's all just palmistry and magic, Earl creatures. Your brain is rotting from the radio waves.
He looks at the air and then turns to the lieutenant.
He does not answer the provocation. It does not look like he thinks this approach worked. Yeah, this just did nothing.
Whoops.
But still, somehow you knew it was a communist.
How?
Perhaps you suspected it before you took the case. The vision was you remembering that.
But this did nothing.
Was it supposed to?
I will look deeper then.
The inland sea is dark, vast, and on the surface, meaningless.
Turn back to him.
Standing there, slack-jawed, brain festering.
The old man shakes his head. "Come on, what am I forgetting? Hit yourself on the side of your head."
Wait, here it
Ow.
comes. The goddamn Maybells. The
Oh, yeah.
dried Maybells on Clausia's roof.
Oh yes.
There were Maybells in the grass when you got here. They're revolutionary symbols from the war.
Yes, indeed.
Nowhere else, nowhere in all of Martinez have you seen them this spring. Wait, don't forget the footprints. The diagonal prints in the dust in the secret space behind Clausia's bedroom. Now they're gonna come up.
Of course. Thank you, Head. Thank you.
You got it. Remember? The
Oh, yes.
blueprints were like no modern soul.
Thank goodness, reaction speed.
Maybe don't beat yourself anymore, though. You're not immortal.
I'm literally like, did I take any physical damage from that? I don't think so, though. There were some Maybells behind the victim's window. Show him the dried flower.
Damn Maybells. The whole island is turning white with them.
He looks at the blossoming field behind you.
He seems tender suddenly, nostalgic even. A strange mood swing.
So many this year, too. The spring is coming. No, it's already here. Wash the filth away.
I haven't seen these flowers anywhere else in Martinez, only here.
They blossom on the islets before. We fertilized them with our blood. Resurrection was snow white in May, before they ruined it.
He looks through the water.
South, the Bay of Martinez is dotted with little freckles of islets, turning green, with white flowers in white snow.
The coast, too, before they piled their containers on top of it, filled with broken, useless trash for fat-fingered bourgeois children to play with.
You must get around a lot to stay undetected all these years. Do you know any secret paths? Pinball workshops?
The lieutenant's voice is soft, friendly.
I may.
A curious tremor passes his face. A young woman named Clausia. Ring any bells? These dried flowers are behind her window.
Clausier.
He knows her, but hadn't heard the name.
Yes, Clausia. You haven't heard her name, had you?
My ears don't reach the city.
You know her, right? She had intimate relations with the victim, the mercenary.
With the victim.
He turns his sight from the whitening field of flowers and falls silent. Then the muscles in his jaws twitch. A spasm.
Don't leave any loose ends. Get him on everything.
I wonder what brand of boots you're wearing.
Everything is brands with you individualists. Who cares what brand my shoes are? Sansa. Some shit.
He looks at his running shoes, covered in mud.
Show me the soles, please, Mr. Dros.
Fucking imbecile.
The old man stretches out his leg. A black and white spiral pattern covers the sole of the worn-out old running shoes on his feet.
The maker is Sensorique. The model is Cordobe, and the size is 43. These are not the unusual horizontal pattern soles you saw in the dust on the floor of the hidden room. They do, however, seem to be about the same size.
Yeah, I mean, he can wear other shoes.
The size fits, but not the sole.
The lieutenant comes to the same conclusion. Wait, maybe it's simpler than that.
Sire, he doesn't have to be wearing them right now.
Exactly. People change shoes. It doesn't mean you weren't there, near the room the victim died in, sneaking around.
Racking those brains, are you? Desperate to report something back to your masters? They must have really loved that dead fuck.
He squints at you, black pearls gleaming with hatred.
The lieutenant gives you a quick sideways glance and nods to acknowledge. The prints were his. You can see it in those eyes. He can't keep them from flickering, looking for something. The old man stares at his own prints in the ash around the fire. Silent suddenly, some strange process within him. A gush of wind. Seagulls in the distance.
You know who he was. A coalition-trained murderer, armored and armed. He wasn't human. The blunt end of a hammer, dripping with blood.
He was a rapist. I'm not saying he didn't deserve it.
Beating us to the ground, moaning with joy. You hounds get so thorough when a company-trained killer dies. I haven't seen you on this coast for 40 years. You know, maybe I should have killed one sooner.
He breathes in with strange animation.
Got your attention.
He looks you dead in the eye, pupils
Now
shaking.
you stop beating druggies and prostitutes in your basement. Now you come to investigate. Not when they die by the hundreds.
He breathes through flared nostrils.
This is it. Shot him. Shot him. Say shot him, not killed him.
So you shot him.
Oh, the inhumanity. One paramilitary less in Revachol.
You can almost see him squeeze a tear out of his eye. His fists begin to tremble from the anger.
The lieutenant raises his right arm to hush you. Hush. He does not need to be pushed anymore. The ball is rolling.
Hold your breath.
I had them in my sights. Both of them. Him and the whore. I was breathing with them, in phase, and I pulled the trigger and flew on the air until I landed in his mouth.
He begins to smile.
I didn't think I had a shot like that in me anymore. I did. I saw him kneel there with his mouth full of death, and that stupid look on his face. And his dick still in her.
The smile quivers.
There, a hot flash of rage almost carries the smile away. Some dark peace.
And then what?
Nothing. I went to sleep. Next morning there were Maybells everywhere. The world was white. Or what's left of it, anyway. My last spring here. I knew the fascists would come to avenge their own. And so they did.
Mr. Dros, are you aware you're confessing to murder?
The lieutenant asks after a second of silence.
Yes.
A single word is all he
And
gives.
you were looking at them, the victim and a young woman, having sex, through the scope of your rifle that night, before you shot him?
The lieutenant takes out his notebook slowly, very slowly.
The old man nods.
Why?
Because that's what they were doing.
He shrugs and then smacks his lips.
The motive. This is where the motive is going to come from. You can coax it out of him. The lieutenant's preparing the ground.
I don't understand. Do you, detective? I don't understand this part.
He turns to you. Why were you looking at them that night?
I'm always looking.
He cocks his head to the side and then turns his eyes to the city. Another tremor passes his right side, lower in intensity.
Are you always looking through the scope of a rifle?
He explains.
I'm just trying to understand.
A rifle scope has the best magnification.
Helps him see all the shit.
And if you don't like it,
If it's part of the shit you see,
then you pull the trigger?
Yes. Think of it as a form of critique.
he looks at the he looks the lieutenant in the eye.
We've got him going. Connect every little piece now. Wrap this up like a gift.
Been looking at anything else you haven't liked?
A tragic comedy. Druggies, prostitutes, and rentiers.
He shakes to life. More specifically,
Specifically, the whole city is a charnel house. Stripped clean and draped in neon. But Martinez is the worst.
he shakes his head in grave disgust. How come?
Because of the racists. Everyone is a racist in Martinez. It's their favorite thing to do in the whole world. Listening to race-themed radio shows. In the ruins, in their lorries.
He points inland.
Pumped full of steroids and Radio Revachol 92. Race this, race that. It's all sanctioned by that Social Democratic Union and the farce of a Social Democrat who runs it.
Mr. Clare?
Yes, the fly larva in his container. He let some nihilistic advertising yuppies erect a statue of Philippe III, a syphilitic murderer, on the town square, to spit on the working class.
Let him finish. Do not interrupt.
Not since the serfs of ancient Pericarnassus has history produced a more inert social class than the Martinez proletariat. The rest of Revachol at least pretends to rebuild. These people still live in ruins. In tents, like animals.
He points to the
Like
church.
those boom morons on the ice. A pity they didn't drown in that tent of theirs.
He keeps shaking his head with sorrow for the sight he missed. That all?
The worst of them is the blood-drenched Sucrion on her yacht, licking her lips. The old whore's gone now. Her gun-toting porcelain men are dead. So, actually, no. The worst is that old cock parading around in his uniform, throwing balls all day. It's not enough that the racists and liberals are dancing on our graves. The old loyalist ghouls still parade the ruins too.
Well, you'll be happy to hear that he's died of old age.
Every morning he's there, while the parasites he fought to protect are off in Ozon, or Quayamoran, or some other island they built their palaces on, feeding on drugs and having sex with their own children.
Say nothing.
That's all the rich really want. Sex with their own children. Throughout history, even the royal bloodline of the suzerain, it's all just an excuse for them to have sordid sex. At least that old cunt, Frisell, is now dead.
Now, I have some questions about this.
We did good when we pushed him under the horse car. Until, in the 30s, those disco whores.
He breathes in, his breath heavy with hatred. You can't make out a single word.
Disco whores are too much. Hatred shuts down his brain's language center, leaving only a nonsensical sputter. There was something about a statue and nihilistic advertising agency people might be worth investigating.
Disco whores?
Whores.
Wow, he rolled that one with real passion, is all he says. Even that word had to be pushed through his teeth with great force. The rage seethes too hard. There was something about the statue on the roundabout. And syphilis?
Syphilis is a disease Philippe III contracted in a whorehouse.
He fires quickly.
The statue is an abomination.
Abomination.
The bacteria entered his brain and made him squander trillions on sparkling wine, cocainum, and monuments of himself. His son, Philip IV, the Insane, contracted syphilis in the womb.
He breathes in with a wheeze of hatred.
That is technically possible, although Philippe III was not actually syphilitic. He was just mad.
And he still went on to govern Revachol for 25 years. We lost 2 million lives toppling that mode of government. And those grotesque statues, too. Hundreds of them.
But it's still there.
What a keen remark. Yes, it is, isn't it? It's still there. Do you know why?
He sputters. Because a cynical advertising person erected a deconstructed version of it?
That's right. Some advertising cockroaches erected a cynical deconstruction of it. We tore it down with honest, working-class plastic explosives. And there it is again.
He shakes his head in disgust.
Art is a bourgeois establishment. It's an affront to humanity. Every gallery should be bulldozed, and the artists should all be given 30 years of hard labor in Yekokata.
Yekokata, the place to be! You mentioned that the Union is social democratic, and Mr. Clare is a farce of a social democrat.
Another hideous disappointment. Unions are the real enemy. The true enemy of the proletariat. Placating the masses.
He pokes at the ash.
Disappointment. So personal. He displays a familiarity with the Union's top brass.
Who's a disappointment? Everett Clare?
That deformed toad? I wouldn't expect him to wipe his own ass. I mean, the brains of the operation. The smart one.
Doesn't Everett run the Union?
That mobster toad couldn't run a shithouse. He has no political education. His twin, Edgar Clare, that one's been to one of those East Revachol universities. He talks a big game about uprising and alienation and so on.
You talk to Edgar?
First against the wall with him.
He stopped poking the ash now and just shakes his head.
The Clares wouldn't miss a man hidden in their own backyard. Not all this time. Nothing happens in Martinez without them knowing.
Of course, maybe the Clears asked him to. Don't go straight for the kill. Exhaust everything else first. Soften him up.
Have you approached them?
I haven't approached anyone. I hid. It was Edgar who came to me.
How did he know you were here?
He didn't just stumble in like an oaf. He figured it out. Some kids told him about a monster on the island. I told you, he has brains.
He nods to you, and he points to the path leading to the tower.
Stepped right off the boat and walked down where you came. I even kept the door open for him. Thought he was a man of the left, wouldn't rat me out. I was right about one of those things.
So when was this?
20 years ago. Neither of them could walk now, could they? They were less fat then.
That's around the time the Clears came to power.
What did you talk about?
Edgar did the talking. Paid his respects like I were a fossil in a uniform. Offered platitudes about the struggle. Flaunted his pink degree. Even quoted Marzoff. Never trust a social democrat who quotes Marzoff. Oh, and charity too. They love their charity. Offered me blankets and social housing. I still have the gas cooker he brought.
He suddenly remembers, and he let you be here?
Let me be here. The ZOC is an unlawful successor of the Commune of Revachol. We took this fortification from the Loyalists. Even the Clares understand this.
He looks around.
They let him be here. Understanding was a courtesy. But why such a courtesy?
Mr. Dross, did you kill the Crenel mercenary for the Clares to incite a riot?
I'm not doing anything for that swine again.
He shakes his head.
Again? What have you done for Edgar before?
Tried teaching him some Marzovian socioeconomics. They didn't stick. We parted ways.
He coughs.
Okay, he didn't do the hanged man for them, but he's insinuating something.
Ooh. By the cock parading in his colorful uniform, you mean Renee?
Every fucking morning for 34 years. Throwing that ball. One ball against the other. I've always loathed that game. That is not a working class game. I don't care what they say on Radio June.
He grinds his teeth in rage.
Royalist ghouls played like it was life itself. Click, clack.
He makes the sound of the balls connecting.
Day. And that uniform, like a parrot plumage. I won't even mention that he's a traitor to his race. A Patank maniac race traitor.
I'm just gonna nod. I don't want to interrupt him while he's having his tirade.
I remember him. I remember him from La Noce. Not him, personally. His make and model. There were tens of thousands of them. I thought we took them all out before the liberals came to their rescue. We missed one.
He points to his black eye.
That one.
With his shaky finger, he points to the city, towards the crater near the plaza where a lonely pine tree stands.
There doesn't seem to be a single person under the pine today. Not even Gaston. Alone.
There's no one there.
Fat and plump. Like a pheasant.
He doesn't hear you.
Just begging to be popped off. Please, Mr. Dross. Shoot me.
A grin stretches across his face and he says it very softly.
He whispers with such predatory hunger. It borders on longing.
You'd like to kill him?
Not yet. I like to look at him strut around, place the crosshair on his medals,
The smile
right in his
lingers.
face, and just fiddle the trigger. Think about it. Let the bomb melt in my mouth.
A treat. Better served for later. He's a pleasure delayer.
Save the treat for later?
He is a juicy bonbon.
But he's
that
dead.
one. A real treat.
Too late
To
now.
The black day. The blackest. When I put that gun in my own mouth, I think, no, don't waste it. Put this lead in that cock, Renee. For the boys he killed. And then I look at him throw those balls, and I suddenly feel
He lets out a wistful sigh.
better. I even hid one bullet, so I'd always have one for him. Haven't seen him around lately, strutting around. Must be down with arthritis. I hope it hurts like hell. I hope he sweats blood.
The lines on his face straighten as he looks inland.
Hearing it may destabilize him. You sure you've gotten everything from him?
I don't have everything. Let me tell me something else.
Yes, of course. Must be passing a kidney stone. I hope it's excruciating. At least it keeps him from throwing his balls.
He mutters to himself.
He seems relieved. Could he have been worried for him? He reminds him of himself.
Yeah.
The same hatred. The same. You try to think of another thing, but no. It's just the hatred.
He's clinging to the past, Renee's clinging to his past, Harry's clinging to the past.
They are veterans of the same war. Somewhere west in Coal City, his enemy is lying in a dark room on a metal slider. In L'Auxerre Municipal, like he will too. Soon. Half of the war between these men is over. With an agitated gait, Satellite Officer Jean Heron Vichmer paces the jetty, 22 kilometers east in Martinez. What could he possibly be doing there for so long, he says. Police work? Patrol Officer Judith Minot replies, with a tinge of hope in her voice. Tinge of warmth, too, against the cold air rising from the water.
Ooh, 72% logic. But my logic is usually pretty good. 72 is pretty high. What was the deal between him and Edgar?
Oh no,
Ow.
the connection doesn't come to you on such a pivotal moment.
God damn it. Kim, what do you think? No, wait, it was about him meeting Edgar and a deal.
By God, we are on the edge, in the very end, and you can't even remember what you're trying to connect, can you? While the murder suspect stares at you with contempt.
Something with the union boss, the elections, the previous leader.
What?
He's beginning to sense it now. Something is off.
To your right, you see the lieutenant give you a quick sideways glance.
About this deal you made.
Thank you. The lieutenant immediately understands what is happening and turns to the suspect.
With Edgar, the death of the colonel mercenary was only coincidentally beneficial to the Clares. But what about the other people you've killed for them?
Other people?
Like the previous 4 women of the Union.
That's it. That's what you weren't connecting yourself.
Thank you, Kim.
I didn't fight 40 years to end up an informant for the international regime. What happened, happened.
He wags a finger at the lieutenant.
Still dumb, your eyes are transfixed on his digit. It's yellow with nicotine. Before, when you asked him about the Union, he said it was a disappointment. They promised him something political.
They promised political change and they didn't deliver.
Look who's up. You're worse off than me.
He scoffs.
We will have plenty of time to talk about this, Mr. Dross, when you're in pre-detention. It takes years in pre-detention.
Go ahead. I've been in solitary confinement my whole life.
The straggler closes his gap-toothed smile.
Ease off it. This was not an unmitigated disaster. The lieutenant mitigated it. Just proceed, calmly.
Well, that sucked. You know, about that Renee.
Yes. Where is he? I hope he doesn't have debilitating arthritis. Or kidney stones. He can still come out to play with balls and get shot in the head, right?
He tenses up.
Oh my God. He's even worried for him.
Renee is dead. He died of old age a couple of days ago.
No.
Yes.
I waited too long. I waited too long and now he's dead?
The old communard looks at you, his blackberry eyes shaking in disbelief.
I'm sorry, Mr. Dross. I understand you knew him for a long time.
Well, sort of. Through the through the lens of a sniper scope, but sure. The lieutenant says softly.
They're all dead now.
He just shakes his head.
Fuck it.
If he really wanted to kill him so bad, he would have done. There must have been 1,000 black days on these islands. His health ailing.
You cared about him?
All human beings care about each other.
A little flash
I
of
cared
anger.
for seeing his head explode. Now, God damn this world.
He reminded him of himself.
Yep.
The same hatred. The same. You try to think of something else, but no. It's just hatred.
You had 1,000 chances to kill him.
And I blew them all. What does it matter now? He's gone. Ancient dust.
True. I'm sorry,
Fuck you.
the old communard says, staring at the ground, seemingly to the island you're on. Are you okay, Mr. Droz, to go on?
You think I haven't seen people die? It's all I've seen them do. Fuck and die. All the other plans we had. To love. To colonize the Pale. It's all fucked.
It doesn't look like he is. Okay.
I'm glad we talked about this. Now,
Glad we talked about what?
what specifically did you not like about what you saw the night of the murder?
Them. Fucking. I didn't like that.
He looks at the charred wood. So you were jealous?
Jealousy is a reactionary concept. I didn't like the Reaver enjoying himself. Drugged out, soothed in the arms of a young woman. I wanted him to die so he could not enjoy life anymore. And I wanted to see his head explode. That too. She should know better than to hold a child murderer between her thighs. I knew he'd be there for one more second, writhing. That's all it takes for the bullet to reach his head. Now that I think of it, I wasn't aiming for his mouth. I wanted his brains to spill out on her. But you can't have everything.
Fair enough.
He wants to see her covered in blood.
How long have you been watching her?
Since she came to Martinez, I saw her sneaking in the reeds early in the morning, behind the Fell building. It was dark, still winter. She didn't have her skimpy outfit on then, just a spot in the night, moving.
Past the Fell building on the coast? What was she doing there?
That's a good question.
Hiding something in the water. She had a fag after she'd done it. I was up in the ruins there. She couldn't see me, but I could see her, smoking. She was nervous, but not scared.
And beautiful.
And beautiful.
That, too.
He nods.
How could you see what she looked like? You said it was dark.
The sun came up. Her hair was like cobwebs. She smoked more fags and snorted a line of whatever shit she was on right there.
He shakes his head.
She needed it just to move.
What do you think she hid there? It would be the documents, wouldn't it?
Her passport.
Yeah.
And tickets to Villiers. And from there to Cachet Brut.
In the free state of Seminine, hidden away at the edge of the earth, near the Pale.
This is the hidden buoy she told us about. You looked into it?
After she was gone.
He nods.
Did you keep what was in it? When we found the submersible, it was empty.
No. Why would I do that? I didn't need tickets to Villiers. I'd put them back. If I wanted to extort someone, I'd do better.
This implies that he's thought about extorting her. Also, a little inconsistency here. He was surprised to hear her name Clausia before. Would he not have seen it on the documents?
You saw her name on the passport, but before, when I said her name was Clausia, you didn't seem to recognize it.
You didn't say Clausia in there.
He shakes his head. Fair enough. Are you sure? We checked the submersible. There was nothing there.
Why would I need that trash? I'm not going to Villiers.
He looks through the reeds, confused. What did you say her name was in the passport?
It was something.
He stutters.
I don't remember. It was dark that morning. I only remember her face on the photo.
Moving on. Did you continue watching her after this?
I did. She had a face like an archipelago with those birthmarks. And a body hard and lean and bruised all over. Black and yellow. I could see she's taken a beating. I could see who she was, too. A spook. On the run. Revachol's the cloaca of capital now. All the bagmen and arms dealers end up here to do drugs and have sex like animals.
You could tell she was a spook from the doc.
She had different
Oops.
color hair on the photo and glasses. Forged. Some sordid bourgeois affair. I've heard about this kind of thing on the radio.
He's setting it up for you.
Good.
The bruises. You can't make that out in the scope.
And you could see her bruises through the scope of a rifle.
You can't see bruises through a scope. It's just a blur.
He shakes his silver gray head. Okay, well clearly he was peeping on her, yes. How does he know about those minute details about her body?
It quickly comes to you.
The bruises on her body. Any chance you've seen them through a hole in the wall?
Oh, yes. Cutting those drugs of hers into little lines with a knife. Masturbating.
Oh dear. He smacks his lips.
Everything in him fills with impossible longing, all at once.
So he was obsessed with her too. Great.
Did you make that hole?
With a clip point knife.
Good for listening in, too. For hearing the moaning and the snorts.
Ever see her through a window on a roof?
Like that, too. Yes. Bending like a bow against the glass.
He nods. You've been through the secret route behind the whirling in rags. Those were your footprints there. You just changed your shoes.
I've been through all of Martinez. Every nook and cranny.
And that too.
Yes, that too. The things they did in that little room. What she'd do to feel good. Funny the way light works.
He shakes his head almost in awe.
You turn it on inside, and it gets so dark out, you can't see a man looking in. I learned that in the 20s, when they were still hunting me. I've seen people do some shit, but...
He keeps shaking his head.
Those two took the cake. You hear the familiar scribble of the lieutenant's pen. A quick glance at you. One more loose end down. We're doing this, detective.
That we are.
How did you get in there? The hidden pinball workshop.
I can just walk in there now after a good wash. I told you, they think I'm an antisocial. Closing hour is a good time. The kitchen's empty.
You had to open the steel door in the kitchen? How?
I got that open a long time ago. Some bourgeois game merchant lived there. I don't know, 15 years ago. He left spare keys all over, and I took one. Then I saw her turn the light on one night in my scope.
He points towards the whirling in rags.
Andy found use for it. A spare key, like the one hanging behind the Union box window.
You had feelings for that woman.
There's
He sighs.
nothing to hold on to. Only this. It's not enough.
The coals of his eyes glisten suddenly, like stones dripping with water. Is he crying?
Is he?
Man needs to feel something else. It helps if you have your eye on something there. Something pretty. It's weakness, I know.
He looks to the city where the lights sparkle. Was that why you left the dried flowers behind her window?
No,
He starts to shake his head again. A sunflower on a withered stalk. Why then?
I don't really know. I was there one night and she was crying, like a child, in the corner of her room on the floor, like she does sometimes.
When was this?
The day after I killed him.
And you brought her Maybells?
Yes, I don't know why I do the things I do anymore.
He looks at the charred logs. You wanted to console her.
Maybe. I told you, I have holes in my brain now. I wouldn't just sit here waiting for you.
He lowers his head and just stares at the
A
logs.
sudden pang of rage.
If you came 10 years ago, I would have killed you.
He wipes his eye.
In the silence, the lieutenant draws a line in his notes, then nods at you once more. One more down.
So in conclusion, it wasn't about him, it was about her.
Her.
He repeats, staring at the ashes, and then the reeds. There's a twitch in the corner of his eye.
You hear a low-frequency hiss, barely, beneath the audible spectrum. Then it's gone. The lieutenant nods at you in
Nice.
acknowledgement. That's it. Motive. We have it.
Where is she, that Clasier? I haven't seen her there for days.
The old man looks at you. She got away, but she let us here first. She figured out someone was watching her from the sea fort.
Gone. I knew it. She kept staring into the scope this last week at the island,
Really?
like she knew.
He looks at the city and nods. He sighs.
She'd look at night, crying or smoking on the roof, staring right into me. It doesn't matter.
He adds, to no one in particular.
Midtown, across the Bay of Revachol, the oceanic wind washes 40-story towers. Above them, Lausanne's central aerodrome, a cocoon suspended in the sky by a web of suspension wiring, encircled by hybrid aircraft.
Look north.
On the platform, a young woman is withdrawing from amphetamines, barbiturates, and alcohol. Yet still she smiles among the crowd, among the great ghosts of the city she's leaving, for another, far south.
I assume that's Clausia getting the hell away from Revachol then.
Smaller, distant, hidden, not like the great chandeliers she sees sparkle in the dusk below her. Streets, towers, tenements and cold water. Across the water, a dark strip of ruins, barely visible, if she didn't squint her eyes. There, on a dilapidated jetty, in a nameless village, 2 police officers and 1 special consultant look across a narrow strip of sea. The ruins of a sea fort stick out of the water, built by Philippe II, reappropriated by the commune, then lost in the landing. He's there, doing what exactly, I don't know. Satellite Officer Vitmer points at the ruins. Behind that anti-aircraft something. That's why we can't see him. Special Consultant Heidelstam is optimistic. We'll see the boat when he comes. Let's go get a coffee until then. I know this interesting little place. Where? His voice trails off as the three walk down the jetty. As the men go, Patrol Officer Minnow looks back over her shoulder at the crumbling fortification like a rotten tooth rising out of the water. Good luck, Harry, she thinks. You need something good for this. The old man has fallen silent, staring at your feet. The burnt logs in the fire are moist from the sea air.
I want to ask again about the people you don't like.
His lip curls.
Glad we talked about
Well,
what?
time to boost my composure. If I can. Yes, please. Let's level it twice. What am I at now? 42%. Bit more. 58. One more. 72.
What strikes you about this gaunt man is not the stomach pain, or the cough, or the malnutrition. For a man who's spent 44 years hidden in the urban wild,
He is surprisingly okay.
indeed, he speaks fluidly. His movements are rapid, if erratic. His voice, despite the cough, is there. It is capable of expressing complicated ideas. Above all, he seems animated.
Animated? By what?
It's a mystery. This animation comes at a cost too. Erratic hand gestures, thought processes cut off like threads, as he just stares at the logs or the reeds. He also suffers mood swings, bubbling to the surface, unconstrained by his nervous system. Great leaps of emotion, from anger to grief, despair.
Dementia?
You've seen demented people before. This feels similar, yet different. When his thoughts move, they are lucid, keen even, not senile. Is this some kind of substance damage? Like he's addicted to something? Not only the painkillers he's clearly on.
Wouldn't a foul temper be a byproduct of his life?
Perhaps, but his seems more than that. The inner turmoil takes unexpected turns, as if forced on him in a way. In summary, you sense some underlying neurological disorder.
Mr. Dross, are you on some kind of a psychoactive substance?
No. I won't be stuffed full of shit like the rest of this city.
He snaps out of staring through you.
You said you take painkillers.
The lieutenant follows your lead.
I take them to cope with pain. The people of this city use painkillers because they have pain. Untreated illnesses. Not enough money for a greedy doctor.
Are you sure about him being lucid? Maybe he's just affected by an extreme case of socialism. It's not a downer, rather an upper, judging by his snaps.
Are you on amphetamines?
Like some kind of decadent rock star.
He doesn't dignify it with more of an answer. Mr. Dross, are you okay? How's your memory?
No, I'm not okay. I shit blood, and I'm surrounded by insane people.
True, he waves his hand, chasing something that's not there.
There it is again. Erratic hand motions, bouts of rage, and the stomach thing too, of course. Could it be a symptom of overdosing on something? Something even you have not tried? Keep your eyes peeled.
Josef Lilianovic Dross, you're under arrest for the murder of Ellis Courtenaire.
What? But you said I would be taken to the...
The old man's eyes fill with a sudden unexpected terror at the words.
This terror is the sum of all the uncontrollable movements and mood swings he's been exhibiting. The wind picks up. The silence on the water is broken all around you. Little shivers of waves appear. The lieutenant continues, like an incantation.
Your Wayfarer rights have been suspended. Information provided to the officers on the scene will be used against you by the prosecution. You will be given legal counsel within 1 week and must face court in 44 days. Do you understand? Do you understand?
But
Kim, he's afraid.
No, I don't want to. I have to stay here.
He looks at the reeds, his eyes submerged in growing terror.
He's sweating. Beads are forming on his forehead.
Yeah, he's gone into fetal position here.
Pupils are dilated too. Eyes getting blacker and blacker.
Your confirmation is not required, sir. Now on to the boat.
92% chance on perception. This is
There
as high
it
as
is
it goes.
To your north, as it has been since you came to the coast. The reeds whisper, stalks rubbing against each other. But then, in the middle of it,
What?
something completely different. It sounds like a bow, very slowly being drawn against the strings of a violin. A very small violin, made of reeds and rushes.
Maybe there is room for 3 on the boat.
But then it's gone, drowned out by the lieutenant's voice. Shush, Kim, do you hear that?
What?
what are you talking about? Is this
Really? Us?
The old man's voice drowns in a sudden gust of wind.
Your skin crawls.
Uh-oh. What's going on here? What is that? Oh. Oh, that's creepy. It's like a giant bug. Is that the Insulindian phasmid that
Delicate
they've been talking
tangle of
about?
arms and legs
Yes!
folds from the reeds, limb by limb, to then just stand there.
Wow,
its
okay.
Scythe-like arms in ghostly silence.
I completely forgot about this thing. I've been so engrossed about this whole thing with the deserter, I'm just like... Right, that was a plot thread that was kind of left... not incomplete, but, just left hanging. Okay, I'll blink. It's real! It was real! I can't wait to tell the others.
It's still there, an unfolding mechanism of reed-like chitin, hovering in place.
What is that? Point to it.
What are you talking about?
The old man looks at the reeds and then at you. The giant stick insect!
There's nothing there.
He looks confused.
The stick insect is over 3 meters tall. It looks straight at you with its tiny pinprick eyes and its grotesquely small head. You feel your legs shaking under you and your gun hand move to your holster to grab the gun.
There is, I see it.
Tell me what you see, damn it. I can't make out one small thing in the reeds.
Kim, can you see it?
I can see it.
You can! I am getting chills. Alright,
4 simple words.
thank God.
If you can see, then you're not insane.
Correct.
But that means it's really there, spinning slowly, in absolute silence. Its limbs long and slender.
Look at this thing. I guess that's just what the head looks like? Wow.
Be very, very careful.
The lieutenant whispers and then takes a step towards the giant arthropod. So the Insulindian phasmid is actually huge. That's why the traps don't work. That makes sense. Oh, I literally have to walk right up to it. Yeah, thanks for the autosave. I think I might actually have to cut it right here though, so I hope that you enjoyed what you saw here today and that you're doing well wherever you are. My goodness, I wasn't expecting to see this. And the music is so nice too. Wow, okay. So yeah, I hope you're excited to see us, I guess, finish the story in the next episode. Have a wonderful day and thank you for watching. We'll talk to the Insulindian phasmid next time. Have a great day. Bye bye.